Hi, I'm Kirk Prince, the father of Julian Prince, a very involved father. I've been involved with my both of my kids' education from the first day they step foot in school. So I'm a very strong advocate for them, for their education. And there's been a lot of things that I've witnessed, all the way up till college. My son Julian is now just finished 2 years in college. And observing, I see a lot of positive things being taught in classrooms and, in the school system itself. But in particular, there are issues that I have with the how they're what they're being taught and how much and to what quality, of the education that is put on them. Now, I am aware that things are so driven towards a certain curriculum, preparing them for Common Core exams. And when these children are in the classrooms and they're being educated, the educators they're giving them information and teaching them things that they are basically told. They have to follow a guideline. And it deprives these kids of history, science, math, and culture. So, for instance, in the history classes, we all know that history is not being taught on its face, the facts, the way things really are. It's being narrowed down to try to be more in favor of this culture, this race, that race. But I'm a Caribbean background, African American Caribbean, and I live in New York City, in Brooklyn. We're surrounded by so many Caribbean different cultures in the Caribbeans. And when my children go to school, it helps to know that, yes, they are being educated about the history and the past of what happened then. But when we're excluding certain culture, for instance, the Caribbean culture, the Latin, we live in a environment in New York City now and around the world. There's just so much mixed culture all in one area. It's really good to understand, and know the cultures rather than in a certain aspects. Like, when you speak of the Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, the Latin, they focus on, you hear things about the border, you hear things about, things that just doesn't really apply to today knowledge for these kids to go out into the world and be more in conjunction with their neighbors, with their friends, understand. So, for instance, if my son was to go to school and his history teacher was to bring up the fact that Christopher Columbus stepped foot in Jamaica and it was once occupied by Indians, and it was named Exayamaka. That was the original name of it, and it brought slaves to Africa, to Jamaica. And if the kids were educated to know that this is their roots, their history, because you have a lot of migrants that come to the United States, and when they're here and they're born here in America, sometimes they can only go to the school to depend on the school to really educate them about their roots. So when you put kids in history classes and they only learn about certain parts of Europe, it's not really helping them to be able to communicate, understand, and get along in the world in the future and now with the people they're living with. If I go to my son and I say, who was the Civil War, who was involved in this and that, he can tell me, but how does he apply that towards what he's doing with himself and what he's going to be able to do with his fellow people that he lives with? So history is something that I've been really skeptical of. And when books are being banned, information is being withheld, it doesn't help these children. It doesn't help this generation, the future generation. When I was in school, I grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana. I went there in high school. When I was in these history classes, the things that I was being taught, being fresh from Jamaica, not knowing about slavery so much, because in Jamaica, we focus on us. We don't focus so much on the parts that hold people down and bring them down and make them walk out into the world. When Roots, remember the story Roots came out? When Roots came out, I was in high school. I was taken to a classroom, myself and other African-American students, and we were talked to by the principal about the sensitiveness of the slavery issues that we're going to be educated on. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. But when I look back on it, basically what they were doing was they were putting us in a group, telling us, you're going to be ashamed, you're going to feel, no, they should have approached it in a different way. This is history. This is what happened. We're not going to say that it wasn't wrong. We're not going to say it was part of life, part of culture, but that's exactly what they did. They told us that it was okay. We really, as students, just take what's going to come to us if we're going to be ridiculed. And to see that being done now, by depriving students in the classroom of the truth about racism. Right now in this country, we have racism, and we have people trying to silence what is being told to this generation about it. What's being told about certain marches that are happening. Black Lives Matter. You have people in legislation, they're downplaying, saying that no, it's not okay to say all Black Lives Matter. And I'm here to say that the truth matters. It matters strongly. Without the truth being taught in the classroom, without the truth being taught in the homes, in the churches, in the libraries, anywhere where there's public gathering, it's not good. And it hurts me to see that this is what we have to witness. Me being brought up when I did, there were a lot of things that I was very proud of learning. And there were things that I was shocked about learning. And now that I look back, I do wish that things could go back to where it was, where the teachers are allowed to teach. They're allowed to talk to the students from the heart, okay? Not from what they're reading on a piece of paper, and they have to stick so strict to it that if they step off of it, they could be in trouble, because now the teachers are being taught afraid of losing their job. They're afraid if they're going to say this, say that, do this, do that. And it's not fair to the students. It's not. Counselors, academic counselors, my son, when he's doing his with his academic advisor in school and they're going over his courses, we felt that they were more concerned about classes that needs to be filled. They were trying to sell classes. They're not being truthful with some of these students, saying that these classes, although it doesn't apply to your degree, you still have to take it because we have rooms that has to be filled with students so certain people can have certain jobs. That's not, just tell them that, tell the truth. And, this is something that I'm very happy, I'm very grateful to see what's going on right now from the beginning of May to the end, that, telling the truth, teaching the truth, it's important. And this is something that I honestly believe it should grow. It should go viral. It's important. If you have children that are in a school system, you should be very concerned about what they're being taught, because when they come home, if you sit down and you ask them, what did you learn today at school? You might be disappointed with some of the things that was taught. And you have to do something about it. You have to speak up, speak out. Go to the school, speak to the counselor, speak to the principal, let them know that you're not telling my children the truth. It needs to be told. I can tell them at home, but I'm not giving them an exam. And when they put down a lie as an answer, you have not accomplished anything.